What's up everyone, I'm Callum on Toast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some insane battles in the Open Great League running Stone Edge, Shadow, Flygon specifically to bait out those newly buffed flying types like Noctowl and Pelipper, and then nuking them out of the sky completely to flip matchups like the one you've just seen in the background there, and that's going to be a teaser for what is to come with the rest of this video. You see, I'm also running it alongside another Dragon type, Shiny Haxorus, and once again we're running another surprise nuke charge move in Earthquake, and to round out the team we've got the Galarian Weezing in the lead with the same moveset as my previous video. I can tell you guys right now you are absolutely gonna love this video, so with that being said, let's get into the question of the day. Do you prefer the current Great League meta with the wing attack buff and the Poison Fang and Charm nerf, or do you prefer last season's Great League meta? Let me know in the comment section below, let me know why, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle here, we're going to be leading into a Registeel, so I'm going to save swap into my Shadow Flygon. My opponent's actually choosing to stay in this matchup here. Gonna go for a charge move. I will respect the damage from a Focus Blast. It is the Focus Blast here. They're going to come in with their Pelipper. I've now already got 100 energy. Go for the Stone Edge, and we one-shot the Pelipper. We flip switch advantage. They're going to come in with a Sableye. They're probably now going to respect the damage coming from the Shadow Flygon, so I'm able to bait them with a Dragon Claw here. Go for the Stone Edge, and this will do some massive damage to the Flygon. My opponent is forced to throw their energy here. My Flygon has done a massively good job there. Gonna come in with the Shiny Haxorus here, and my opponent just concedes the game there, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to my opponent there. Into the next game here, we're going to be leading into a Lantern. Once again, going to save swap into my Flygon. They're going to come in with a Noctowl this time. I'm going to go for the Stone Edge on the CMP tie with the Sky Attack. It lands, it does huge damage, and it's actually enough for me to fully Mudshot, farm them down just before they reach the next Sky Attack, which is absolutely perfect here because now I have a ton more energy loaded. I'm now going to go straight for these Dragon Claws here. They're going to do about 45 to 50% damage to this Trevenant, meaning I'm going to go for another Dragon Claw here, get the first shield, going to go for another Dragon Claw. Flygon absolutely spamming out these charge moves. We get the final shield here, and now I can safe swap into the Galarian Weezing here. My opponent gonna go for the Shadow Ball, gonna overfarm slightly. My opponent makes a brilliant catch onto the Lantern there. Very nice play by that opponent, and they're gonna be able to fully spark farm me down, which is certainly not ideal because even though we resist everything on the Haxorus, Haxorus is a very glassy Pokemon. So what I'm actually going to do is come in with the Flygon here. There's no way they can spark farm me down before I get to a move, so they're forced to throw the Surf, meaning that I'm easily going to be able to come in with my Haxorus here, commit one shield, and then fully farm down this Lantern. They actually swap into the Trevenant, but they don't have a Shadow Ball loaded, so I can now go for the Night Slash, take out the Trevenant, and then counter down the Lantern and take that game. So GG's to my opponent there. Into the next game here, we're going to be leading into a Nidoqueen. Bit of a tricky lead. Once again, going to save swap into the Flygon. My opponent is actually going to stay in here and just go straight for a Poison Fang. Poison Fang is resisted, but it does lower my defense. They're now going to come in with an Umbreon, and this should be a very comfortable matchup for the very bulky Umbreon here. I'm going to go for the Stone Edge as I don't expect to land another charge move. They do let it go through, and they do throw a move just before I reach the next Dragon Claw, so very good timing there by my opponent. I'm going to come in with the Haxorus, get a small counter farm, and then swap and catch the foul play on the Galarian Weezing, and they still have enough health where I will be able to farm them down and get a nice farm here. We do barely have a Brutal Swing loaded. I'm going to go for the Brutal Swing, baiting like I've got an overheat, and my opponent lets it go through, so I can safely just go for another Brutal Swing here. This probably gets a shield from this Nidoqueen, and it does. I'm going to shield up the Poison Fang because that will allow them to easily farm me down. I'm now going to go for another Brutal Swing here, and I'm not 100% sure if I'll be able to get to one more before they farm me down, but unfortunately I end up catching a Poison Fang, which is like the one thing something I didn't want to happen, and now I'm going to be forced to throw a Night Slash here before the Nidoqueen gets to another charge move. Night Slash takes out the Nidoqueen. They come in with an Azumarill. Can I get to the Earthquake here? I'm barely not able to before they get to an Ice Beam, so I do just commit to the Night Slash here. That actually does a decent amount of damage. We've already gotten them into the yellow health. They try to farm me down. That is the play for the Azumarill if I'm running the typical moveset, but Earthquake is enough, especially with that boost, to take out the Azumarill there, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we lead into a Pelipper in the lead. This is not ideal because we're not going to be able to do the same thing with our Flygon because it's used to bait out the Pelipper, but if we swap it in, they're probably going to expect that Stone Edge damage, so they might end up shielding. So instead, I do just stay in initially. I try to catch the next Weather Ball here. Unfortunately, my opponent does overfarm. I'm going to respect the Hurricane damage. Great shield there because they do go straight for it. I'm now going for the Earthquake. Is my opponent going to respect the Earthquake damage? Yes, they are, and I really just did not expect them to shield there. Unfortunately, that does mean that I'm not going to be able to take out the Stunfisk here. I'm going to go for a Night Slash on the CMP tie with the Rock Slide, and this will either put them low enough for me to farm down with the Flygon or get the final shield. Both of them are pretty good options here, and we're going to come in with the Flygon. Now, my opponent actually not going to commit to the Earthquake whatsoever, so that's perfectly fine with me. They go for the Rock Slide. I'm hoping I can Mudshot farm them down, but I'm barely not able to. It ends up being a CMP tie with the Rock Slide. Rock Slide wouldn't have taken me out, but I'd be very, very low, and they come in with a Medicham here, so I'm going to go for the Dragon Claw. Does some decent damage to this Medicham. Gonna go for another Dragon Claw here, and if they do overfarm, they get greedy, I'm gonna be able to reach another Dragon Claw with my Flygon, and now we can swap back into the Weezing here, go straight for a Brutal Swing, and Brutal Swing is gonna be enough to take out the Pelipper and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game here, I'm going to show you what happens when I do swap in the Flygon, just so you have an idea as to why I have to stay in that matchup. I'm going to let this move go through because of course we can tank a Weather Ball and we don't really want to be shielding that. We're going to go for the Stone Edge now, but because I've swapped in my Flygon, they do respect the damage, and unfortunately they're also able to fully farm me down, which is really not ideal. I'm going to come in with my Galarian Weezing here, go for a shield here because they do have enough energy for the Hurricane, but they don't throw it, but now they do just go for another Weather Ball, and I'm happy to let this Weather Ball go through. I'm going to go for the Brutal Swing here, and this will do some nice damage to the Pelipper. A second one will be enough to take them out, and I should be able to survive this Weather Ball and just barely get to the Brutal Swing, and hopefully my opponent does just let the Pelipper go down, but they actually choose to double shield the Pelipper. I'm going to come in with my Haxorus here, barely not able to get to the Earthquake before a Surf, and I kind of have to shield this up here, because if they have something with heavy fast move pressure in the back, Haxorus just has absolutely no chance. So we go for the Earthquake, we one-shot the Lantern, they're going to come in with a Sableye here, we're going to go straight for another Earthquake up against this Sableye, and we one-shot the Sableye as well, but unfortunately this Pelipper is going to be able to take out my Haxorus, and then they'll be able to easily Wing Attack, farm down my Weezing, and take that game. So obviously the Shadow Flygon works really well to bait out those Pelippers, but you don't want to swap it into a Pelipper because they probably are going to expect the damage from a Stone Edge there, so unfortunately we do lose that game. But into the next game here, we are leading into a Trevenant. I go for a Brutal Swing, they go for the Shadow Ball, it nearly takes me out, so I'm forced to swap out here into my Flygon. Don't really want to give them any more energy than they need to get. We're going to go for a shield here, and they're going to go for a Seed Bomb. We should actually be able to Mudshot, farm down this Trevenant, and we're able to. We come out with a ton of energy, enough to throw a Stone Edge into this Noctowl, and that does huge damage to the Noctowl. We're also going to be able to outpace them here to the charge move, go for a Dragon Claw, and Dragon Claw takes out the Noctowl. They've actually got a Lantern in the back, and we just play with our food here. We're going to swap and catch the Surf on my Galarian Weezing. I'm now going to come back in with the Shadow Flygon here and just make them think that perhaps they've got a slither of hope here. Going for the Stone Edge here. Stone Edge will be doing huge damage or get the final shield, and I'm happy to let the Flygon go down. I know we will be able to get to another Stone Edge or back-to-back Dragon Claws, but Haxorus can safely win this matchup. My opponent recognises that and they concede the match. So GG's to that opponent there. Into next game, we lead into another Pelipper, so once again, this time I am just going to stay in because that is the safe play here. Gonna let them go for a Weather Ball straight away, and this does a nice chunk of damage, but I can get to the Brutal Swing here, and we're going to see if I try to catch the move once again, and I do, but once again my opponent doesn't fall for it, but they swap into a Registeel, so perhaps they're running a double steel team in the back, but even so, they should have stayed in with the Pelipper for sure. We shield up the Focus Blast here, go for a Night Slash, we go for an Undercharge, allowing me to get a big counter farm down before they get to another move. They're going to come back in with the Pelipper, somehow we end up losing the CMP tie there. They go for a Weather Ball, it doesn't do an awful lot of damage, it is resisted. We're going to go for the Night Slash, we have back-to-back Night Slashes loaded. We can go for the second one up against this second Pelipper, or what am I talking about there? But they're going to go and catch the Brutal Swing. We tried to snipe them there, and they catch it on a Stunfisk, so there is the second Steel type. But with that Brutal Swing, chip damage, Overheat is going to be enough to one-shot the Stunfisk there. They come in and farm me down, that's not ideal, but Flygon is just so spammy that we're going to get to the Dragon Claw before they can get to a Weather Ball and a Hurricane. So one more Mud Shot, we get to the Dragon Claw, and this is easily going to be enough to take out the Pelipper and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we lead into a Mantine. Not an ideal lead here. We're going to go for a Brutal Swing straight away, and my opponent actually goes straight for a Bubble Beam. We do win the CMP tie here, which is great because we get off that damage before they debuff my attack, but unfortunately they're just going to continuously go for these moves. They actually catch the Brutal Swing here on the Registeel. Very nice play. Hopefully we're going to be able to fully counter farm down this Registeel here. We're going to shield up this charge move, and they actually go for a Zap Cannon, and it debuffs my attack, so I'm now doing less counter damage. Can I get the farm down? No, I'm not able to, and I think I've made a massive mistake here, because now I've used both shields. We do have a ton of energy, but unfortunately I don't think we're going to be able to get to another Night Slash here. Unfortunately, we do have the back-to-back loaded, but it's a CMP tie with this Mantine here, and they're at the Ice Beam, so Ice Beam gonna be taking out my Haxorus here, and yeah, they still have 2 shields remaining, and once again another double steel team, very similar to the previous team, except they're running Mantine instead of the Pelipper. We swap here, catch the Earthquake, massive damage here. My opponent's taking no risks. They make sure they get rid of the Flygon straight away. And yeah, there's just nothing I can do here. Pretty much my only win con is if they let this go through, but they do shield up the Overheat, so I'm going to concede the match there. So really well played by my opponent. Very unfortunate that they got the debuff, but I didn't really adapt to it. I hoped that I could farm them down, but I wasn't able to, and the game was pretty much won by my opponent from that point onwards. But into this game here, we land the Overheat up against the Skarmory, does massive damage here. I'm now going to swap into my Flygon. My opponent swaps out straight away into a Sableye here. Going to go for a Dragon Claw. This will do big damage, over half of its damage now with the Mud Shots. We can go for a second one, and my opponent actually CMP ties me here, and that is great. And I know that they're still 4 away from the next move. We know we win CMP tie, so I'm going to just shield that up, go for the Dragon Claw, and once again it's a CMP tie, and this is going to be getting the final shield from the Sableye. Going to be setting up my Haxorus for a very nice sweep here. They go for the Foul Play, it takes out the Flygon. I'm going to commit to the full counter down here, shield once, and then come out with a ton of energy loaded. They go for the Foul Play, they swap into a Lurantis here. I'm going to go for the Night Slash here. I do have the back-to-back loaded, but I'm not certain that the second Night Slash would take them out, so I go and catch the Leaf Blade on my Weezing. Leaf Blade resisted, but it still does massive damage there, takes me out. I can go for the Night Slash here safely, take out this Lurantis, and they've got 2 very low health Pokemon. 2 counters take out the Sableye, 2 counters take out the Skarmory, and I'm able to take that game. Alright, so going into the next game here, we lead into an Umbreon. Pretty good lead for us here, but unfortunately, because I'm not running a Fairy type charge move, we can only really go for the Overheat because Brutal Swing is resisted, but that's going to lower my attack, so I'm going to go for the Overheat here and then swap into my Haxorus because we do still deal super effective damage with the counters. They're going to respond with a Medicham here, and unfortunately I don't quite get to the Earthquake before an Ice Punch, so I'm actually going to shield up the Ice Punch here. A bit questionable here, but I'm now going to go for the Earthquake, and if they let this go through, which they do, it does massive damage, and it means that I'm going to be able to farm farm them down before they get to a Psychic, which is quite ideal here because an Ice Punch isn't going to do an awful lot of damage to this Galarian Weezing here. So one more Fairy Wind there and we're able to take out the Medicham. They're going to come in with a Pelipper, so we go for the Brutal Swing and my opponent actually uses a shield there. Very interesting decision here. I'm now going to go for a Stone Edge. Stone Edge going to do massive damage if they let it go through, and we one-shot a Pelipper. And my opponent's just going to concede the game there. So once again, nuking the Pelipper. My opponent was not expecting it whatsoever. Into the next game here, we're going to lead into a Noctowl. Not ideal, but they're actually going to safe swap into a Galarian Stunfisk. I'm going straight for the Overheat. We land it, does huge damage, and now they're not even committing to the Earthquake here. So I can safely no shield and then fully farm them down here. We're one away from a Stone Edge. I'm hoping I can live the Sky Attack here, and we do barely hang on with 1 HP. Go for the Stone Edge, do their respective damage. Once again, they do not, and this Noctowl is super low. We can come in with the Haxorus, fully farm them down. They've got a Lantern in the back. That's going to be an easy game for me to win now, and my opponent concedes the match. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we swap into the Flygon, hoping to bait out a flying type, but of course they're going to be running Medicham, so I'm expecting probably a Shadow Victory Bell in the back. We can spam out these Dragon Claws at an alarming rate. We're already at the back-to-back Dragon Claws once again. My opponent's actually going to respect the damage from an Earth Power, so they do shield up there. I'm going to go for another Dragon Claw here on the CMP tie with this Medicham, and if they go for Ice Punch here, I should be able to get to one more Dragon Claw, and the reason I shield that up there is I want all shields down. My opponent's going to shield up the Dragon Claw here, so I do get all shields from my opponent. I'm going to come in with the Weezing. They go for an Ice Punch straight away, so I can safely no shield this and fully Fairy Wind farm them down. Now I'm expecting the Bastiodon to come back in here, so I'm actually going to swap straight away into the Haxorus, but unfortunately it's not a Shadow Victory Bell, it is a Trevenant here, and Night Slash, even though it's super effective damage, unfortunately this Trevenant does double resist the Shadow Claw damage, the counter damage, sorry, and a Seed Bomb with one more Shadow Claw is enough to take me out here, so this is going to be a very tight ending here. I go for the Brutal Swing, take out the Trevenant before they get to another charge move here. I'm now going to shield up this Bastiodon here. They go for a Stone Edge, of course. I'm going to farm here. I really need to get to a Brutal Swing and an Overheat here. We go for the Brutal Swing here, and I don't think an Overheat is quite going to KO, but unfortunately this Bastiodon gets the charge move anyway. I guess I miscounted there. I don't think an Overheat would have quite taken them out anyway, so I don't think that cost the game, but GG's to that opponent there. Well played. Into the next game here, we lead into another Noctowl. This time they're not going to safe swap into a Galarian Stunfisk, so I'm just going to stay in here. And now they're actually going to swap into a Lantern instead, and this is a little bit tricky for me because what I don't want to do is reveal the Stone Edge, so I'm going to continuously spam out Dragon Claws on the CMP ties with this Lantern on the Surf, and we do get a shield there. They do respect the damage from the Earth Power, so I now am going to shield this Surf here. Very risky, but I'm going to do the exact same thing once again. Go for the CMP tie here with this Lantern, and my opponent once again does shield up, which is really nice for me because now I will be able to maintain this switch advantage here, and I've got all shields down. I'm going to go for another Dragon Claw, this time after 4 mud shots, meaning I now CMP tie them here. Unfortunately it means I leave with very little residual energy, but I haven't revealed the Stone Edge yet, so my opponent's going to go for the full farm down, allowing me to get to the Stone Edge here, and Stone Edge, huge damage, forcing this Noctowl to use their energy here. Sky Attack takes out the Flygon. I come in with the Haxorus here. I'm just going to now count to 8, catch the Earthquake on my Galarian Weezing, and now I can easily get to my own Earthquake with my Haxorus, and from this range this will easily be enough to take out the Quagsire, and I'm able to take that game there. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game here, we're going to be leading into a Shadow Victory Bell, so I'm actually just going to go straight for an Overheat, expecting my opponent probably won't shield the first move here, and if they do shield it, then I'm just going to swap into my Haxorus. We do get the shield from my opponent, and they actually swap and respond with a Bastiodon, which is great here. I'm going to go for the Earthquake. I don't really want to use a shield yet, so Earthquake takes out the Bastiodon, and they come back in with the Victory Bell. Unfortunately, I don't get to a Night Slash, which is not ideal, and now they're at a charge move here. I'm going to shield up this charge move. It is a Leaf Blade. I'm expecting there to be a Medicham in the back, and unfortunately I overfarm. They get to another Leaf Blade, and now I have to shield this because, like I said, I am expecting a Medicham in the back. We go for the Brutal Swing. We get the final shield from my opponent here. I kind of have to go for another Brutal Swing here straight away because I want some health remaining, but this Medicham here is going to come in, and they get to the Ice Punch just before my overheat, and that was, I think, my only play here, although I could have perhaps... I know how to talk. I could have perhaps swapped into the Flygon, got off the Dragon Claw and forced them to go for an Ice Punch on the CMP tie, but in hindsight, I was trying to commit to the overheat. Unfortunately, we do lose that game, despite getting a very good scenario there as they swapped a Bastiodon into my Haxorus. But anyways, GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game here, we're going to be leading into a Swampert. I'm going to shield up the Hydro Cannon, swap into my Flygon. My opponent responds with an Altaria here, and we're going to be spamming out these Dragon Claws at an alarming rate. The first one lands. It does about 45% of their health. We're going to go for another Dragon Claw here. We get the first shield from my opponent, and we barely get to another Dragon Claw here before this Dragon Breath takes me out. I get all shields down from this Altaria, and now I can come in with the Galarian Weezing here. We of course double resist the Dragon Breath damage. Sky Attack does some decent chip damage here, but because the fast move pressure is so little, I can safely let both moves go through, and I can just continue to overfarm. They're actually going to swap into the Swampert here, trying to snipe me here. So I'm actually going to come in with my Haxorus. I hope they go straight for the Earthquake, and they do, which is ideal. Now I'm going to overfarm, go for a Night Slash here. This will be enough to take out the Swampert here, and I do have enough energy to go for another Night Slash into the Altaria if they do choose to come back in with it, which they do here. And actually, I don't know if a Night Slash will KO. It barely doesn't, but we get an attack boost here, and now they come in with a shiny Mew. We're going to go for the Night Slash. It is already buffed, and Night Slash is enough to take out the Mew, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game here, we're going to be leading into a Purified Sableye, so reasonably good lead for us here, but if they do shield the overheat, that's not going to be ideal. They're actually just going to go straight for a foul play, which is very nice for me. They now swap into Bastiodon here, and I'm going to commit one shield in this matchup and then fully farm down this Bastiodon. They go for the Stone Edge, and you can see that they're nearly doing as much damage with the Smackdowns as we do with the counter, which is kind of crazy considering counter is double super effective damage and one of the best fast moves in the game. We go for the Earthquake, we nuke the Sableye here. They come in with a Medicham. We already have a Night Slash loaded, and Night Slash does some decent chip damage to the Medicham here. We're going to come in with the Weezing. We have a ton of loaded energy here. Go for the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing gets the first shield from this Medicham. We continue to farm. Go for another Brutal Swing. We get the second shield here, and now we just need to get to an overheat, and we can safely shield here. They go for an Ice Punch. Ice Punch, I'm not sure it would have taken me out, but we get to the overheat anyway. Overheat takes out the Medicham, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we lead into a Defense Form Deoxys. Pretty good lead for me here. Of course, they do have Psycho Boost to hit for super effective damage, but that will lower their attack if they do so, and we are double resisting the counter damage, and we can hit for super effective damage with these Brutal Swings. So we actually already get a shield from this Deoxys, and because we got a shield already, I'm thinking that they really don't want my Galarian Weezing to see whatever is in the back. So I'm now going to shield this up. They do now commit to the Psycho Boost, sorry. We're going to swap into the Flygon here. They've got a Vigoroth, and they've already shown 2 counter users. I'm expecting it to be a triple counter team. Usually it is with Obstagoon, so I should be in a pretty good position here. We're able to barely get to another Dragon Claw here, and with one more Mud Shot, this will allow us to simultaneously knock each other out. Now I'm expecting them to come in with the Obstagoon here, but they've actually got a Medicham, so that's not ideal. I'm going to go for the Night Slash on the CMP tie with the Ice Punch here, and I'm recognizing that there's really no need to keep the Haxorus alive. I know that the Galarian Weezing is the win condition here. Now I'm going to overfarm, go up to 100 energy, go for the Brutal Swing here. We get the shield from this Medicham. They're going to come in with the defense form Deoxys, go for a Psycho Boost. I know I can overfarm here, get to enough energy where I can go for a Brutal Swing and an Overheat. Brutal Swing takes out the Deoxys. Overheat going to be enough to take out the Medicham, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game here, we're going to be leading into our Lantern, so once again going to say swap into my Flygon. They're actually running Water Gun here, which is not ideal as it does do a lot more damage. It is neutral to Flygon because of that ground typing. They're going to come in with a Frostlass here, so we're going to bait them with a Dragon Claw, sorry. We get the shield there, and now we can go for the Stone Edge. Are they going to commit 2 shields? No, and we one-shot the Frostlass there. So Flygon taking out an Ice type and getting a shield there. That was insane. We now go for a Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw does big damage here, and now I can come in with my Haxorus, and yeah, we should be in a pretty good position here. I'm going to commit to a full counter farm down. I'm expecting a Surf, so I'm going to let it go through. Surf doesn't do too much damage. They now come in with a Noctowl. We farm to the back-to-back Night Slashes here. Going to throw one and then swap into the Galarian Weezing here, and we should be in a fairly comfortable position here. So unless they do make a very good catch, we should be fine here. I'm now going to commit a shield. Shield up the Sky Attack. Sky Attack would have pretty much taken us out from that range. I can go for the Brutal Swing, and I'm just hoping they don't make a catch here, but I think their switch clock isn't quite up yet, so I'm able to go for the Overheat here, take out the Noctowl, and we do have the Night Slash, but I'm able to get to a Brutal Swing anyway, and Brutal Swing is going to be enough to take out the Lantern there, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there, and into the final battle of this video, we lead into a Sunfisk, gonna say swap into my Flygon here. My opponent meets me with a Pelipper. We're gonna go for the Stone Edge, nearly at the 100 energy already, and my opponent actually shields the Stone Edge there, but that's fine, we get to another Stone Edge here. My opponent commits both shields on their Pelipper. I was not expecting that. And yeah, Weather Ball doesn't quite take me out, one more Wing Attack does, and now we've got a 2 shield advantage. We still might be in a good position here, we'll have to see. They go for a Weather Ball here, and we can get to a Brutal Swing just before their next Weather Ball. Brutal Swing does some nice damage here. I'm going to let this go through, and hopefully I can get to one more Brutal Swing before we go down, and we're barely able to, which is nice. Brutal Swing, going to be taking out the Pelipper here. I'm going to swap into my shiny Haxorus. They do have a ton of energy on this Stunfisk. They bait me with a Rock Slide here. Honestly, I probably would have shielded a Rock Slide anyway. I'm now going to commit another shield here. Earthquake would have taken me out, so that's a great shield. I'm hoping to counter farm them down, but I'm barely not able to. We go for the Night Slash here, take out the Stunfisk on the CMP tie. They've got a Venusaur here. I'm not sure if an Earthquake takes them out there, so I'm actually going to go for 2 Night Slashes, and this will allow me to swap out now. They have enough energy for a Frenzy Plant, so I swap, try to catch the move, but they don't throw straight away, and now they can safely go for a Sludge Bomb here. Sludge Bomb takes out the Haxorus, and I do lose that game, so GG's to that opponent there. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did make it to the end of the video, let me know in the comment section below whether you prefer these longer style videos. I think I included about 20 battles, whereas typically I include about 10 to 15 battles. So if you did enjoy seeing more battles, let me know in the comment section below. Also, make sure you leave a like and respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so yet. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not yet subscribed, and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified every time I upload a video. And with that being said, let's get into the shoutouts from my previous video. So firstly, we got Jesus Elizondo, who says, I have a high rank Headbow Butterfree that I used an elite fast TM to get Bug Bite. Just don't ask me why though. Okay, I'm not going to ask you why, but that's a pretty interesting use of an elite TM. Next we got Bralak, who says, I gave an elite charge TM to Shadow Hitmonlee to teach him Brick Break, and since he got Double Kick, it's actually somewhat usable in the Fighting Cup remix, and that's actually pretty interesting. Brick Break, not a very good move, but on a Pokemon with a very high attack stat like Shadow Hitmonlee, it might be usable, and as well, it doesn't have a bait charge move, so that probably does help it out quite a lot. And finally, we got Turkey 2003, who says, my craziest use of an elite fast TM was for Lick Shadow Muck. because why not? And I guess the Elite Fast TMs, you typically don't use them as frequently, so why not use it on something like a Shadow Muck? So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.